Focus! Hey friends, it's your good friend Tim Campbell Smith, and today we are talking about different types of schedules or timetables that you may choose for college or university. Here's some questions. Would you rather an 8 a.m. class or a 7 p.m. class? Would you rather one class that takes 3 hours or a class that's broken down into two 90-minute sections? This is at the heart of what we're talking about, which is how to plan your timetable with specific considerations, especially for those of you going into first year college or university. Now that I've done this a couple times and advised students on picking their schedules coming into first year, it really comes down to what's possible and priorities. So we're going to talk about what those are and how you may plan accordingly. Now, an important note I have to make. This all comes down to what is available to you at your school and within your program. Not to crap on any specific programs, but like some programs that maybe have larger enrollments, greater number of students, will probably have more flexibility. So you'll have more choice among the three types of schedules we're going to talk about today. But if you're in a smaller program, a more professional program, maybe a smaller school, you might have less choice. This really only applies if you have the choices to make. Before we go too far, make sure you like and subscribe for all things higher ed, mental health, business, and life. For today's video, I have made up a series of hypothetical schedules based on the same 5 classes. I made these up. They don't belong to any specific program or university. Just I want to use the same courses and the same timetable style to illustrate the same point across multiple styles. This is what I believe to be, and from my research, like a standard representation of a typical timetable. Yours might be a little bit different, so make sure to tailor accordingly. So there are 3 main different types of schedules or timetables, or ways of organizing your time. We have sporadic, we have block style, and then we have loaded style. And please note, loaded is kind of like block, we'll get to it in a little bit, where you can load it in the mornings, the afternoons, or the evenings. So let's start with sporadic. What you're looking at now is an example of a sporadic schedule. This is where your courses and classes are all over the place. There's not really a lot of rhyme or reason. It might be because it's what you got into, it's what you could make work on your first try, you want the flexibility. A sporadic schedule works really well, especially if you're coming into first year. This works best for first years to experiment and play, to find what are your preferred times for classes. It's great if you want flexibility, where you want things all over the place because you may want to do some things in the morning, or in the afternoons, or in the evenings. This is also a really good choice, particularly for first years and or people whose primary focus is just to be in school. Being in school, going to school is your number one focus. You're not thinking maybe too much about clubs or about a job. Your job is super flexible and will always work around you. Sporadic can be done in large chunks or small chunks, whatever works for you. But it then does make life a little bit more unpredictable. It's harder to plan things around. It's harder if you do get a job, if you do work, if anybody does want to set schedule from you, or if there's clubs or activities you want to get involved in that are running when you're in class. So that's just something to watch out with sporadic. With sporadic schedules, you may also want to throw in an online class. Online classes work really well with sporadic schedules because then you can kind of do it on your own time when you want and as you want. Next is block style. So block style courses, which I'm showing you an example here, or block style planning for your timetable is where you block out large swatches of time. Usually we tend to do this for like a whole day, where you'll try and load up, sorry, I don't want to use the word load, you block out like a whole day for courses. So rather than having, in the sporadic example, we saw days where you only have one class. With block style, you try to put as many classes into one whole day. Typically, we do this when we want days off. It makes planning for days off easier, if possible. It makes it so that you're only at school for certain days and very certain times, opening up other times. Now, the only problem is that your days are both a sprint and a marathon. Like, you got to get through the whole day. Now, if that works for you, awesome, it's going to be great. Where this becomes a risk, though, and where I don't advise this, is if you don't know your learning styles or your energy levels through the day. Nothing is worse than thinking like, yeah, I'm only going to have classes all day, Mondays and Wednesdays. Great, you have 3 days off. But then finding out, oh my gosh, you can only survive 1.5 classes. but you've got 4 classes in a day or 5 classes in a day or whatever. So you want to be careful with that. Only do this if you really know your learning style and know that you can go a whole day of classes. There is also a big risk with this though. If you get sick or you need a day off, you're not just missing 1 class, maybe 2 classes, you're missing many classes. With that sporadic schedule we saw, like if you were sick one day and you needed to take a day off, you might only miss 1 class. That's manageable. But if you take 1 day off and you've blocked out a whole day just for classes, then you're missing a whole day. That gets risky, so you want to watch out for that. That said, an added perk, bonus, possibility if you can, try to aim for block style classes Tuesdays and Thursdays. With no classes on Mondays and no classes on Fridays, you're more likely to, and it's easier to get long weekends, even if it's not a long weekend or a holiday. Next, let's go to loaded schedules. So you can load up your schedule in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening. Here is an example of a loaded morning. So what this means, so loaded is kind of like block style, but for a time of day. So loading your classes in the morning, you try to have as many long classes through the mornings so that the rest of your day is a little more available and open. This works really well if you are a morning person. I know like this is what the style I'm going for when I go back to school is I'm going to try to load up my mornings. I learn best in the morning. My partner has to get to work, so I will have to get to school by a certain time, first thing in the morning, so mornings will work out for me. It's reflective of my life. This is not going to be a good idea, though, if you're not a morning person. With that, you might want to think about loading up your evenings. Here's an example of a loaded evening. Loaded evenings are great if you want the whole day to work or to study or to do whatever and then to go to class in the evenings. The kicker, though, is that you're not going to be able to do as many evening activities. You might be missing out, and you want to think about how you want to spend your day. So just watch out for that. If you are neither a morning nor an evening person, then you might try to load up your classes in the afternoon. Here's an example of a loaded afternoon. So, and one point that I do want to highlight right away with loaded, and we can see it really with the afternoons, you're typically not going to be able to load it for like the whole week. So it's only afternoon classes, Monday to Friday. That's probably not going to work out. You'll probably have to be a little flexible with it. But afternoons are great if you're not really a morning person, you're not really an evening person, you're kind of trying to find it out, but you want some consistency. You can try and load up your afternoons. With loaded, either morning, afternoon, or evening, though, there are a few things to know. One, you probably won't get everything. So I applied it to afternoons, but that also does work for mornings and evenings. You probably won't be able to only do evenings, only do afternoons, only do mornings. So you'll have to be a little bit flexible there as well, or opt for online classes. You also probably don't want to only load up one time of the day, though, so that you have some flexibility and some choice. Just remember as well, though, if you're loading up a certain time of the day, it's removing your ability to do activities during that time of the day. So just keep that in mind. Overall, here's some considerations that apply for every type of schedule, whether you try for like a blocked out timetable, a sporadic timetable, or a loaded timetable. Think about 1, how much choice do you have? Do you even have the ability to make this choice? And then 2, what are your priorities? Have your schedule reflect your priorities. Do you want days off? Do you want flexibility throughout the day? Do you want variety? Have your schedule reflect your priorities. Do you want to have no classes on certain days? That will also get planned into your schedule. You also might think about when do you want to or need to work. With work and a closely related topic that's equally important to consider, do you want to do clubs and other extracurricular activities? When do they meet? If you've blocked out or you have classes during certain times, that excludes those from you. Finally, when are you most alert and ready to learn or ready to work? Please know it uses kind of a different wavelength in your brain to go to class, learn, absorb, and to then be working on assignments and working away at things or studying. So think about when you're at your best for different types of learning. In conclusion, I would say it's all about your priorities. 1, are you able to make this decision? And 2, what are your priorities? Do you prioritize having open mornings? Do you prioritize having open evenings or flexibility? And having your schedule reflect that. Comment and let me know. What schedule jumps out to you the most? What style of timetable works best for you? As always, make sure you like and subscribe for all things mental health, photography, business, higher ed, life. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye for now.